let's visit the crocheted cast on. I've got here a crochet hook. It's a size 3.2 millimeter crochet hook, and I've got a knitting needle or knitting needles. This is also a 3.25 millimeter knitting needle, and I have some Rowan Baby Cash Soft Merino that I'm going to do my crocheted cast on with. Now the crochet hook and the needles and the knitting needles do not need to be the same. I just happen to have two of the same size, so that's what I'm using here. I'm going to begin with a slip knot. I'll make that slip knot with my yarn, and I'm going to put it onto my crochet hook and then just snug it up against the handle of the crochet hook. And then I'm going to pick up my knitting needle. And again, you can do this on straight needles, double pointed needles. You can do it for working in the round or working flat, doesn't matter. And I'm holding my crochet hook with the loop on it to the right of the knitting needle. The yarn is going underneath the knitting needle, and that the slip knot is over the neck of the crochet hook. What I'm going to do now is reach over with my crochet hook over top of the knitting needle and position it underneath the yarn and swirl it around so that I can pull this yarn through the loop that's on the crochet hook. And when I do that, I'm going to hold the bottom of the slip knot against the knitting needle, maybe even pinch it between my middle finger and my thumb to stabilize it as I pull the hook with the yarn through the loop that's on the crochet hook. And now I'm left with one loop on my crochet hook, and the yarn is now on top of my knitting needle or above my knitting needle. So I'm going to maneuver the yarn around so that it is laying behind the knitting needle, and then again I'm going to take my crochet hook and pivot it over top of the knitting needle underneath the yarn, swirl the hook around and move it through the loop that is on the crochet hook. So again, I have a new loop on my crochet hook. My yarn is now on top of my knitting needle, so I'm going to move it around to the back of the knitting needle and then cross my crochet hook over the top of the knitting needle, grab the yarn, and pull it through the loop on the hook. And that is a crocheted cast on. And you can continue to do this. You might say to yourself, well, it's tedious to move the yarn to the back all the time. But trust me, this is easier than doing a crochet chain and trying to feed it onto your knitting needle later. So I'm just going to continue to do this, and you'll see that with time and practice, you can get fairly quick at it. I have 33 stitches, so I'm going to stop here and I'm going to pop this last stitch that was on my crochet hook, this last loop. I'm going to pop it onto the knitting needle and I'm just going to tug it up here. So you will crochet cast on one less onto your needle, one less than the number that you need, and then for your last stitch you're just going to take that loop and pop it onto your needle. And then you just take your knitting needle and you can start knitting or crochet or purling, whatever, or whatever stitch you're doing. Maybe you're doing color work. Maybe you're doing rib stitch. Doesn't matter. You just get started. Now this is going to replace your cast on, and again it's going to give you a nice decorative edge at the bottom. So here I've done 2 rows. I did 1 row of knitting and 1 row of purling, and I just wanted to show you what a nice edge that makes.